Good morning. It is Monday morning, and so I'm doing my new check-in. And yeah, okay. So my name is Amanda, and this is the Reading and Writing Life. I have my puppy cam ready to go. The dog that you can see the most of, that is Django. And then the other dog is Skeeter, and Django's been under that blanket until just a few minutes ago. He just climbed out. And so I was like, maybe he wanted to be on camera because he knew what was happening. So there he is. So we're going to first start talking about the books that I have finished this week. So I only have one book like physically in my possession. So we're going to talk about that first. And it is Memorial Ride. This is a graphic novel by Stephen Graham Jones. It's his first one, and it was just published toward the end of last year, and I got it for Christmas. So it was one of my reads that I really wanted to get to at the beginning of the year. Now, the other books that I finished, they're on my Goodreads, so we're going to have to share it like this, but I've got to get it where I can look at it too. Sorry. This is what I finished, Assassin's Apprentice. Now, this was the birthday read from Brandy, and I don't know, she doesn't have a channel, but she is one of my friends, and she has a birthday in January. And so I asked everybody. So if you're watching this and you have a birthday at some point this year, which I hope you do, I would like to know like what your favorite book is and what month your birthday is. And then I will read that book during that month. Usually I can edit out all of the airplanes that fly by. I cannot do that in a live, so I'm sorry that there are airplanes. Also, Melissa, I am so glad that you're jumping in and multitasking today. Thanks. Oh, and Stephanie, watching while I'm working. Nice. Thank you so much. So this book, Assassin's Apprentice, I have heard, of course, Robin Hobb. I even own a couple of her books physically, and I had never read anything. And then Brandy said this was one of her favorite books that she read last year, and she picked that for my read. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to read it. And it was so good. I mean, I feel like she wouldn't be as popular as she is if she was not a good writer. So I really, really enjoyed it. We start out, it's kind of like somebody telling the story of their life. And so his name is Fitz, which is not exactly his name, but that's a whole convoluted story. He was dropped off as a 6-year-old and has almost no memory of the first 6 years of his life. So we kind of jump into him as he's 6. And he seems to have some special abilities that other people don't have. And he doesn't understand why they're bad, but people keep saying like, this is a bad thing, don't do this. And so we're just following him as he's kind of telling the story of growing up at this, at the king's palace. He's like tangentially connected to royalty. And so I'm not going to say how, although this description right here tells you how. Does everybody see Django now? Deciding to whine because I'm talking. Do you want to come sit with me? I don't know why he does it. Every time I start talking, he starts whining. You can sit up here with me, but everybody can see you already being cute. I don't know. But anyway, I am so excited about the next one in the in the Farseer trilogy. I'm going to read that trilogy first. Here he comes. Come here. Okay. Here he is up here with us. So I'm definitely going to keep going in the series. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give a lot of stuff away, but the best thing for me about this kind of book, when there's a lot of things happening with the character and we we don't know how things are going to go, but if somebody's telling the story of their life, then we know they don't die. So like, I never have to be worried that Fitz is going to die because he's telling the story. So, I mean, generally people don't kill off their main characters, but sometimes they do. So I just want to, I just knowing that I have that available every time. Oh, and Stephanie, I'm so glad you enjoyed this one. Well, I can't imagine them being better. Like, I just liked so many things about this book. And so I'm glad to know that they get better. It was so good. And people say that bad things do happen in these books, which I know that, I mean, even in this one, there were some times where I just felt really bad for Fitz and the people around him and all that stuff. But it was just such a great book. And I am excited that Brandy picked this for her birthday read. Carly, I can't wait to pick up some of her books. I would absolutely recommend this. I like I said, it's only one that I have read, but it was so good to me. I really, really liked it. And it was really the first one that I finished this week. I finished it I probably finished it last Monday after I finished doing the live stream because I didn't want to stop reading it. It was just so good. And then I finished Witness in Death. This is my next in the line of the J.D. Robb stuff. So, I'm just reading one book a week from J.D. Robb. I'm sad that Skeeter's now down there on the floor by herself, but you guys can still see her. Django abandoned her so he could sit with me. So the in-depth books, I really can't go into them a lot just because there are things that will be spoilers for what happened in previous books. But I mean, I just really like this series. If you can handle romantic things, then I definitely think this is something that you might like to do because it's just so good. The mysteries are good. The character work is amazing. Like, I love all of the characters. I even did some kind of weird deep dive on Goodreads yesterday where they have all the characters listed that are in the in-depth series. And then people, I don't know who uploaded them. It could have even been J.D. Robb, I guess, but people uploaded pictures of a couple of the characters, like what they thought they looked like or who they thought they looked like. I just thought that was so interesting. And I didn't realize that you could do that, but apparently that's a thing you can do on Goodreads. So I need to make sure that I check that out on other books that I like. But anyway, after that, I read more Brandon Sanderson and I finished Skyward. What happened about reading Skyward, I didn't intend to do this, but Kate at the Literary Apothecary, her Discord group is reading through the Skyward series. And they said, in January, we're going to read Starsight. And I was like, oh, great. I just assumed that was the first book in the series. So I was like, I will pick up Starsight and I will read that. Well, I got to Starsight. I found it online and I was like, this says book 2. And everybody's like, yeah, we've already read book 1. And I was like, so now I have to read book 1 and 2 in January to be caught up. And I really don't have to. Come on. Because in February, they're going to be reading a novella or a short story. I don't know what it is. I think it's a novella. So my plan is that I finished Skyward, and if I can do Starsight this month, I will, but I moved it down my list because there are some other things that I want to get finished. And then if I don't get to it next month, I'm sure that I can do Starsight and the shorter book. So, but I loved this one too. Like Assassin's Apprentice and Skyward together. I mean, I was reading them both kind of at the same time, but they were both so good. It's about people's childhoods. This one is, again, Skyward, where we meet Spencer. And we see her at first when she's like a little bitty kid. And we see her with her dad, who is a pilot. And then later it flashes forward to when she's a teenager and she's trying to get into pilot training school. And we get to see all of that. And it was very good. Like, I don't know. This is book number 7 from Brandon Sanderson that I've read. I've read 2 other trilogies of his, and I just like his writing. Like, I don't know if you just like it or you don't for him, but I do. I think that he does a great job with characters like Mbot. As soon as Mbot came on the page, I was like, oh, he's going to be my favorite. And I loved everything about Mbot the whole time I was reading this book. So if you like, and it's listed as sci-fi, which I guess that it is. So if you like anything like that at all, and even if you're trying to get into it, this is really just a story about a girl trying to fit in at a school where she is seen as an outcast and less than other people. So taking away all the sci-fi stuff, this is just about a girl who is dealing with a family legacy that is not positive and trying to turn it around and prove that just because other people in her family have done things doesn't mean that that's how everybody in her family will be. So I absolutely loved it. And I thought, I cannot wait for the next one, even though I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer. So the next book that I finished, and I finished this one Friday night because we were doing an interview Saturday morning with Daniel Barnett. And this is Nightmareland Chronicles number 5. And I have 1, 2, and 6 in physical copy, but I don't have number 5 to hold up. So this is just a continuation of what's been going on in the other Nightmareland Chronicles. If you can handle horror, you need to read this book because it has such great characters. All of the books are so short. So at least pick up Nightfall and pick up Lullaby because it's very short. And just go through those first 2. And if you're not interested in the characters and you're not hooked on finding out what's going on, then feel free to quit. But I definitely think, and they're on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, go get these first 2 at least and just give them a shot. Like, I think it's about 250 pages for both books together, not each. So it's very short and very cool. Oh, I just see Stephanie said, yes, Mbot. It was so good. Like, the banter with Mbot and Spensa was just the best. Sorry, we're back on Skyward because I didn't see the comment that she made when I was talking about it. I'm sorry. So anyway, for horror, this is a great recommendation, especially if you like characters the way I do, because this is a great character study of what happens when the whole sky and the whole world goes dark because the sun is gone. It's very good. Okay, and then the last book that I finished is Squire, which is the next Tamara Pierce book that I'm reading. And so I'm not going to talk a ton about this because I will have a specific video about it. And also it's book number 3 in a series. But I have read 2 series so far, and this is my 3rd series from her. And I loved the first one. That was the one about Alana. So if you know anything about Tamara Pierce, most people know the Alana series. Well, if you enjoyed the Alana series, you need to pick up Protector of the Small. This one, the difference is it's a girl who is trying to be a knight. But the difference is she goes in saying, like, I am a female and I am joining this group. And so she's dealing with things right off the bat that Alana didn't exactly have to deal with because Alana was pretending to be a boy. So those are the differences, but they're going through much of the same thing. And then it's so good. We see Alana as an adult, but Alana is told at the very beginning, like, you can't have anything to do with her because everybody's going to think that you're helping and you're, providing her with inside knowledge or whatever because she's a girl. And so it's so good, though. We're following Kel, or Caladri is her name. And so she is going through the process of becoming a knight. And I finished book 3, and it was so good. I really liked it a lot. So before I start talking about what I am currently reading and hoping to finish this week, I want to know what you're currently reading or hoping to finish this week. So just put it in the comments what you're reading, and I'm going to go through mine right now while we're doing that. And I have some in-person books, mostly because I checked my library and they had them, physically at the library. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go get this. So I am almost finished with this one, but this is Conan the Barbarian. And this is just a series of short stories about Conan. And I think that is all this whole thing is. Like, I don't think there's ever been a novel length story about Conan. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. And definitely not in this one. But I will go in depth more about this next week, I'm sure, when I finish it and talk about it then. But I'm almost done with it. And I'll say that it is okay. All right, let's see what we got. Stephanie, I'm working on War and Peace. I am supposed to be reading War and Peace in March, and I'm already dreading it. All I've heard is how long it is. Like, is that true? Is it really like super boring? The way you say I'm working on it leads me to believe that it is like a slog, or it's going like it's not happening quickly or fast paced or whatever. So I'm a little bit worried about it, but I'm joining Sandy from 1001 Book Countdown. I think her name is Sandy. I'm sorry. It's called Miss Reads a Lot is her channel. And she actually is starting a 1001 Book Countdown book club. And she has picked War and Peace as the March book. So I guess I'm going to be reading War and Peace in March, and I'm just a little bit worried about it. And I've got no cozies this week. I love reading. I have discovered that reading cozy mysteries for me is a lot like reading historical fiction. Like, I can't just binge cozy mysteries because they start to become repetitive to me. Like, it's like, okay, I know like the general basis of what's going to happen. So it needs to have some kind of twist for me to really get sucked into the cozy mystery thing. So if I've found though, if I space them out in the rest of what I'm reading, then it's like a nice little palate cleanser and just a relaxing read that I can do. And that's the same way it is with historical fiction, only in the opposite direction. Historical fiction usually makes me super tense and emotional, and I just need to periodically read those too, so I can stretch it out. Okay, I'm buddy reading it. It is super long. Oh, you're taking your time. Okay, so she said, so far it's interesting, but I'm not that far in. So that's good that that you are taking your time with it as you're going through. I think maybe that's what I'll have to do. I could probably get a physical copy of it from my library and maybe break it up over the whole month of March and like just read a little bit every day. That might be the best way for me to do it too, because then I won't feel like I'm having to digest big chunks about it. Okay, Carly, on Eldest. I don't know what that is. I do know what Cemetery Boys is, and I have heard really good things about that. So it's on my list. I haven't gotten there yet, but it's on my want to read list on my story graph. So maybe I'll get to Cemetery Boys. Do you like both of those? You said working on also. So maybe that's just a good book. I don't know about Eldest, but I do want to read Cemetery Boys. Totally understandable about cozies. Yes, I need a break sometimes. And then here you are about War and Peace. If I try to just binge it, I'll get overwhelmed. Smarter jokes. Okay, so good. That's going to be my plan then for March. I'm glad that now it doesn't seem as intimidating, because I'm like, okay, that's just what I'll do. I'll just read it a little bit at a time. And speaking of reading a little bit at a time, that's what I've had to do for this next book that I'm currently reading. It is called The Red Web. And I practiced saying these names earlier. It's just Andrei Soldatov and Irina Borogin. Okay. They are both Russian journalists. They both have connections to like internet activities in Russia going all the way back to before there was an internet. I know that Soldatov's dad was in charge of a lot of the early stages of the internet in Russia. And so I will say this is a nonfiction book. This was one of my NPR picks. If you like internet histories. If you like that kind of thing, this goes very in depth. I thought this was going to be more of like espionage things, and it's more of like this person brought this black box and dropped it off at this location. I mean, it is still interesting, and there's tons of it that's interesting, but I have had to take this in very small chunks throughout well, as long as I've been reading it, and I should be finishing it up today or tomorrow. Some of it is interesting and goes really quickly, and then some of it I'm like, oh, okay, that's just like really slow. Okay, let's see. Carly says Held is the second book in the Aragon series. Oh, okay. Eldest is what you were saying. I just read the first Aragon book last month, and I really enjoyed it. So Eldest is also on my list. I just haven't gotten there yet to know the name of it. But yes, I am going to be reading it because I really enjoyed Aragon. So I'm glad that you're reading 2 books and you like them both. That's awesome. Finally, the last thing that I'm currently reading that I will definitely finish today, as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to finish it this morning when I take a break to read a little bit. And it is The White Donkey, Terminal Lance by Maximilian Uriarte. Does his name not sound like some kind of supervillain, by the way? Oh, we sure did. I'm sorry. Hold on. Look, Carly just said, yeah, we Betty read Aragon together. Yes, we did. I'm so sorry. We absolutely did. I totally forgot. Django is about to fall off my lap. So you want me to tell you what's really going on with Django before I talk about the white donkey? Every morning I feed them and they eat what's in their bowl, and then they come in here and they nap for about an hour or so. And then they get this other treat that is like a stick that's all twisted up. And so that's what he wants now. He's like, did you know that it's time for me to get this twisty stick that you give me every day? And because I am talking to this camera and ignoring him, he's just going to sit here and make noises until I give him the twisty stick. So we're almost done, Django. I promise. I promise we're almost done. So this book, The White Donkey, this also came up on my NPR, and I was like, oh, that doesn't even make sense. I don't know what that is. Well, Terminal Lance is a graphic novel series. I'm going to try to open to just a regular page. I don't want to give anything away, but it looks like this, and it is written and drawn by this guy who is a former Marine. I guess not former. If you're a Marine, you're always a Marine. But this is his story about his first deployment, joining the Marines and his first deployment. And it's listed as fiction, and it's also listed as a memoir. And so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, the things that happened in here are definitely nonfiction. However, he changed some of the people's names and that kind of stuff. So I think maybe that's why it's considered fiction and historical fiction, because it's about one of the earlier engagements in Iraq. So that's what's going on with it. And it's really enjoyable. Like when I first got it, I thought, maybe I'm not going to like this book. But it's so good. I mean, it's definitely dealing with PTSD and suicidal thoughts and all the kind of stuff that you would think that would go along with a deployment where things happen and then you come back and deal with it. But he's just being so real about what he went through and what he dealt with. And so I'm definitely going to finish that one today, and that will be on here next week. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, Lana, hi, on the way to bed. 1:30, you should already be in the bed, but thank you for saying hi. And Carly, the dogs are super cute, but also, do you see how spoiled this boy is? He's 10 years old and he rules things around here. And so he just annoys me until I do whatever it is that he wants. And he knows it. So I am going to try to remember next week to go ahead and get the sticks before we start, and then he'll eat his stick, right? And he won't bother us. He can be over there with the nice dog. Skeeter. Skeeter, what you doing? She's like, I'm sleeping. Leave me alone. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me and letting me know what you're reading. I would love to see you back here next week to tell me what you thought about what you are reading. And hopefully I can finish some of these library books that I'm reading and get ready to send them back. Oh, look. I know. He doesn't really want love from me. He really wants that stick. So that's what I'm going to go do, is give him the stick. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.